but let's not talk about them. That's not what you guys. To talk about
Chris Cornell in another band, Soundgarden, wasn't it?
Soundgarden,
Yeah, it's a super rock behemoth.
Right, teamed up with the guys from Rage.
Right.
Machine, yeah.
To increase the rock levels.
Yeah. You guys listen to a lot of music, other music? You have time to follow?
God, yeah, not rock music though.
Yeah.
No interest in rock music whatsoever.
No. And you guys keep track of that at all? Current pop stuff, or you guys are?
Hip pops, yeah. Not so much over here.
Yeah.
It's quite different. We get whatever happens over here. We get in England about 6 months later.
Right. But talk about that. Talk about then the other stuff you guys listen to and how that influences what you do, because every album is so new and fresh. And how much of that is outside influences? How much of that is just you guys want to do something totally different every time around?
Just got an eclectic nature. So it's not the it's definitely not the easiest path to travel down as a professional musician to change all the time, because you're constantly kind of starting again. You know, the way, especially in America, the way it works is, you know, it's about a format and following that and keeping and just sort of reiterating the same thing. You know, so every time we come back to America, we're sort of, you know, it's a totally different sound, so you can't connect it to the last bit, and it's sort of, but it's, you know, it's the way that we've chosen to do it, and we have surprising moments of clarity, and the rest of the time is kind of a bit confused.
But how much of that is organic, and how much of it is let's do something different? We have to do something different to change our.
No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, I don't know to what extent what you listen to affects what you do. I think, you know, everything you've ever listened to has a bearing on what you do. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just playing, isn't it? Making music. You're trying to amuse yourself.
We tried a very different approach with this record. It wasn't really recorded in any particular studio, and in fact, we spent quite a lot of time in Morocco recording on a farm, and because the weather was just so good, ended up really recording outside more than inside. So the record's got a sound which is different, I think.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that specifically, how being in that place, because you guys have been all over the place, but being in that place affected the music here.
Well, it's the I think weather is a very key part of the music. I think, you know, it's kind of sort of doesn't, in a way, the more time I've spent making music outside, the less I want to make it inside. Because bad weather can really, you know, it just makes you have to adapt in a very different way, you know, and that's probably why we sound so different each time we put out a record, because we don't sort of allow circumstance to prevent. We work with it. We go with the flow of it. You know, we lost our guitarist on this one, so immediately we didn't lose him. He didn't die or anything. He was not working with us at the moment.
Just put him down somewhere. I found him again, unfortunately.
So, you know, the sound from day one had a different sort of structure to it. Yeah, obviously. And I sort of play a bit of guitar, but my guitar playing is sort of picked up a lot of it playing in Africa. So that's kind of how things come into the sound. You know, it's not really planned. It's just.
I'm nervous for you guys when you land in a new place like that. The first few days, what's it like? Are you guys always confident now that you're going to put together something great and something fresh, or they're ever even still, God, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to.
No, we never know what's going to happen, and we don't try and preempt anything. It's just, I mean, an example, just to sort of in Morocco, Norman Cook came out for a week to work on a bit of the record. We started it on a track, and there was an old farm trailer outside that had a great squeak on it. So we just jumped on it and got a rhythm track out of the squeak of the trailer. That's how we work.
But you guys, I assume you guys would have been just as adventurous whether or not Graham was in the band now or not with this record. You would have probably gone on to a different kind of direction. And
Yeah, but it would have been different again, you know. So,
how does it affect you guys? Now, I remember talking like R.E.M. at the time when Bill Berry left the band. They just kept talking how liberating it was. Is there a sense of liberation?
Yeah, there definitely. It's, you know, it wasn't all bad things. You know, I think what really the deciding factor was just when we started working, it all really flowed really easily, and it was just really great. And you know, there was no looking back at all. So it was, you know, it's just really good. It's been a while since we made music together, so there just seems to be lots of things to say to each other. And
You do have to change things for music to change. You can't carry on the same way and expect the music to just magically change itself. So Graham leaving, although it was obviously a very difficult time emotionally to go through, it did have some very positive outcomes as well.
Talk about the reaction you guys have been getting to this new music. I know it's been extremely positive, both. You know, where you guys are from.
yeah, it's been a great response so far. As I say, it's just difficult to format our records, but I think I don't think that is our problem. I think radio does suffer from being sort of
provincialised, taste-wise.
Yeah, and it's there is a sense of monopoly. I think, especially in America. I'm just talking to people that think that there's a slightly sort of politics of radio is purely about money, and I think it's funny you can go from one town to another, and in a town where the radio station is more eclectic and less commercially driven, the audience are probably more receptive to different kinds of music. I mean, obviously, so there's, I think on a sort of serious note, it's important that that's recognised, just because that is good for culture in general. If stuff isn't totally driven by money.
Yeah. Right. Talk about the fans that stick with you guys no matter what. They're there to buy the album the first day it comes out, no matter what it's going to sound like. What does that mean to you guys at this point in your career? You can be adventurous and you're going to have a certain fan base.
Well, that's how we do have a career. It's by that kind of dedication, really. And hopefully, they do that because they know they're going to get something from us, and we definitely get a lot of feedback when we play. There's nothing better than seeing people singing your songs.
Yeah. Talk about how this tour's going so far and what kind of reaction you're getting here in the States. I know you guys just did this weenie roast thing over the weekend, and you're playing here tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Nobody's roasting any weenies at all, as far as I can see.
No.
I think everyone else would.
How's that different from like the festivals you guys are going to go back and do?
Oh, it's not really a festival in the sense of the kind of European sense of the word. Though there are several. I mean, the Coachella, for example, was much more like a festival. I mean, that was basically a stadium gig.
Festivals in Europe, people camp. That's the whole point of it. Is it's like 3 or 4 days and you camp, and there's a lot of different activities going on, and it's very much a sort of rite of passage for the youth.
There's been nowhere to sort of really play football backstage as well. That's been quite disappointing for me.
Do you guys have fond memories of going to those things when you were?
I didn't really get an opportunity when I was a kid to go to many festivals.
I mean, something that's grown really since we've started. I mean, there was Reading and Glastonbury, I think, really, when we started, and now they're sort of all over the world. It's been a real growth industry, the festival.
Yeah, the kind of festival spirit hasn't really grown. It hasn't really spread out with the explosion of festivals. And Glastonbury's still a very. I don't even know if Glastonbury's happening this year actually.
It is.
Anyway, it's kind of it's like the granddaddy of the festivals, and it's a kind of, you know, it's about peace and freedom and all the kind of 60s hippie ideals and stuff, which is, you know, why on earth not? But the kind of thing, the festivals that are sprouted out of it are far more commercially orientated, and then to try and call, you know, the kind of radio festivals in the same way. They're not really.
Yeah, I think we've just realised, you know, having been now 14 years in the band, is that music does suffer when there is too much emphasis on making money around it. You know, it's a sad thing, I think, because you know.
Well, those kind of festivals are just really bankable, aren't they? You know,
yeah, I totally appreciate people have got to make money, but when it becomes the emphasis is put on that, you know.
Yeah. You guys could just avoid even thinking about that really and still have an incredible career, I would think. You guys don't need to be...
Well, we try not to think about it, but sometimes, you know.
Talk about just the sound of this. Going back.
You have to collide with the real world from time to time, and then you can ping back off it again out into our kind of 60s wonderland.
Yeah. A certain person that wakes you up every time?
It's Neve, actually. Point the camera at Neve, she hates that.
The sound of this
Not
record,
fair, that is it, really.
with your various excursions in Africa and things like that, and then you're doing an album like this, and there's all of a sudden this comparisons to like a Bowie album like Lodger that when he did that, or certain Zeppelin stuff. Do you guys like that at all when people say, oh, this is their...
There was that drum, there was that big room. They made the drums sound like Led Zeppelin, didn't they? Or was it you, Dave? I don't know.
It was a combination of the room and my rock.
Yeah.
What are we talking
I've
about?
I've always kind of thought David Bowie was you know, that period was his most interesting, you know, when he was really, not really very, I mean, people forget that he went through, you know, 10 years of not really selling any records at all. No one could kind of imagine that, no, but he did, and he made some fantastic records. So that's my point, you know. Is
They were quite hard to format.
I would imagine they were, but you know, people love them now. Yeah, you know, I don't think anyone would ever admit to making money just purely making music just purely for money. But there's I don't know. I think the new generation of bands are very sort of open to being formatted, you know. And I think they're kind of you know, the implications of that is just, I think this music just becomes more conservative.
Talk about the singles from this album and how they're doing, but how people are responding to them in terms of. I know the next single is going to possibly be out of time. But you guys did this real interesting video for that.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, the video. Well, the video. When did we sort of? I suppose it would have been January, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
January. Yeah. This guy, John Hardwick, came to us with an idea of creating something that got right in the middle of someone's very sort of not mundane, but very sort of disconnected work life from kind of the music that we make. For example, someone working in on an aircraft carrier, which is what happened. I mean, the military side of it wasn't really, it was incidental. It was just the way that using a bit of real life documentary, slowed down with the music, sort of, it peeled back the sort of veneer of life and just sort of entered, I don't know, the human side of work. And, you know, especially at that particular moment, kind of somebody working on an aircraft carrier in the Gulf, you know, was part of a campaign as opposed to a person. I suppose it had that. You know, when we first saw the two together, we just thought this is, you know, really a moving piece of film. It just happened to be, you know, the beginning of a war, if you know what I mean. But it wasn't.
It was just setting someone's life to music, really. You know, somebody who had quite a sad life. Well, there's a sad aspect, you know, that they weren't in love with their husband anymore. I don't know. I just found it really found it really affecting. You know, it wasn't. You know, it's totally a filmmaker's idea. It's good to collaborate with filmmakers like that. You know,
videos as such, you know, we have a real. We make them from time to time, but we do have a bit of a problem with kind of miming to your own music. So it seems like it could be so much, you know, MTV could be such a lovely idea, and it's sort of sometimes, you know, for commercial reasons, it doesn't fulfill its potential. But, you know, we can carry on, we just sound like old romantics.
Today's crusade. Down with money. Down with it.
We'll show.
No, but the point is that you know, music and video should be a really, really creative meeting of minds, and it so rarely is.
Is that much more satisfying for you when you can?
Well, it's just brilliant when you don't actually have to, you know, just let someone use their idea.
Talk about the three of you guys, how close the three of you have become, and now that it's you three and you guys are spending so much time together now on tour.
We don't talk. We don't talk. Barely acknowledge each other.
we should have lunch.
Schedule appointments.
See my people, I don't have a window.
But when you sit on a stretch like this, where it's months at a time, really touring, you guys are in kind of close quarters. You've been doing this for years and years. Has the relationship changed? Is there a certain closeness now? Is it all shorthand? How do you guys get on?
Oh, I've always got on, really.
It's kind of like being brothers, kind of like being in a family, really. It's quite a large family. It's not just the three of us when we're on tour. There's 26 people now.
Yeah.
So it's quite, you know, this, you have the kind of falling outs and getting back together again that you do within any family.
Yeah.
You know, people rub each other the wrong way and people get on. And the thing about being on tour is that you do have to, if you're not the kind of person that gets on with people, you don't last very long. So after, you know, however long it is now, 14 years, we're left with a bunch of people that do really get on deep down.
You guys will.
The refrigerator's just going.
Yeah, a few years ago, and the guy that actually brought all of that to America, Simon Fuller. So what are you doing? He said, I'm just finishing the deal to bring pop stars over to America. And I just went, great, that's really good. Fantastic. I mean, you know, you're going to make vast amounts of money and, you know, take the general sort of
Musical stars.
yes, musical stars. You know, I remember, you know, it was just funny to knowing how successful it would be, and yet just having so little empathy with his whole euphoria. That did nothing for me, you know.
Right.
But you know, you don't want the clever people being the people doing the deals. You want the clever people in the bands. That's you know, that's the big difference between.
But no, I think you want clever people everywhere. If you can.
That'd be nice.
No,
Talk just the pride you guys have when you put together an album like this. It's so different, and you get the reaction. Just is there a sense of pride and accomplishment at this point in your career that you're pulling this off and doing it well and doing something different and adventurous?
I'm really enjoying playing live at the moment.
Yeah.
That's what we're really taking pride in.
it is nice to be able to play like something like the Weenie Roast and be sandwiched, you know, amongst a lot of bands with very different take on life in general, maybe, and still just be able to, you know, just play at your own pace and not get bottled off. Well, it's quite an achievement, you know, because let's face it, you know.
Nobody can really tell you you're great or you're crap. You know, you're the one who knows whether what you've done is any good or not.
When you go to a show like tonight, the Wiltshire Arena, it's going to be at least 6,000 or 7,000 screaming fans. I don't even know many more than that.
But if you know what you've done's good, then you can go on between two shouty rock bands and not, you know.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's how you feel about your music.
What other type of musical adventures do you guys still want to? You already kind of plotting out after this tour? You must be thinking creatively beyond this.
Yeah, I think it's kind of quite difficult when you're on tour to be too clear about what the future holds, because it's so sort of hermetic, really. You know, it's ridiculous when you're on tour. You are at whatever level you're touring at. It
takes all day, doesn't it?
yeah.
It does take up a lot of your brain.
Yeah.
You know, just even being on a bus, you know, travelling.
I think it's the time when the abstracts of creativity are sort of come to you, you know, and then you just have to sort of mould them into something a bit more tangible.
Yeah. And just lastly, just about the tour, how has your guys' kind of stage presence changed? Is there a different kind of confidence than you guys maybe had 10 years ago when you go out there for a show like tonight?
There's a lot more standing about. There used to be a lot of jumping about, and now it's kind of, you know, sort of, that's kind of, it's all in the footage.
For those in the balcony to get a good look down.
It's for me, it's about singing now, really. You know, I mean, I enjoy the physical side of performing, but if the voice isn't strong enough, and you know, the whole music hasn't, it's not right.
Mm-hmm. Anything wild you'd still like to accomplish, you know, personally or as a band that you haven't done yet in terms of just something adventurous?
No, that's it. That's it. That's it. God, I'm finished.
It's exclusively announced now. It's all over.
It's all over.
I guess there's a whole world out there, you know, and it's
Is there?
I think
Bloody hell. There's a whole world out
there
there.
is. You're kidding. There is.
What?
Take it from me.
It's
Trust
not
me.
just-
I've
not
seen it
just
on the globe.
California.
I think there's an infinite sphere of possibility. We've just started to chip away at. So, I mean, we don't make plans for, you know, we don't make plans for the next album. We might make plans for when we're going to record the next album. But it's pointless trying to make plans about making music.
Today I'd like to buy a hat, personally speaking.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Cheers.
You guys are cool. Thanks for doing this so early.
It's not early.
No, it's late already, huh?
It's midday.
It's already midday. Yeah.